Hey YouTube, this is Zach with Achilles Financial, and today we're going to be talking about Micron Technology, which trades under the ticker symbol MU. Now, Micron is another company that is involved in the computer or the tech space, primarily focused on developing and building out computer memory and storage products. You can see on a year-to-date basis, the company has been performing incredibly well, as we've seen in a lot of the tech space. What I would note is over the past 3 years, or even if we go back 5 years, you note that the company has not yet been able to replicate their success in 2021 and late or early 2022. Now you can see that the company is back in those same areas despite the fact that we have not seen a meaningful change in the company performance. So you can see that they have continuously been on a negative earnings per share approach. On a projections basis, they are intending to show much more positive earnings in the future. As I always note, that does not always happen. So as we go up above, one of the things that I want to highlight here is that this is a space that's very exciting right now. The company is back to all-time highs where they have seen before in 2020 and 2022. However, I'm very skeptical in recognition of the fact that the company is still not making money, and they're around 100 billion in total assets, despite the fact that we're not necessarily seeing a large increase in the overall valuations. Now, when we dive into the financial statements down below, you can note that on a cash basis, the company continues to perform incredibly well. If we break this down into a quarterly view, their cash balances continue to stay very strong. However, they are experiencing a decline from where they were in the middle part of last year. However, if we look at the income, this is really going to be our primary focus. Now, recall that on a GPU manufacturer or a storage manufacturer, that Micron is going to be heavily focused on the gaming segments. They're also going to be heavily focused on the commercial side, where again, you can sell to a lot larger companies and get in and associated with their products. From a sales perspective, they continue to actually perform incredibly well. However, what I'd note is that cost of those revenues has continued to increase at the same time. In addition to that, you can see down below, we've seen very meaningful increases in nearly all of the sales side, but in particular that R&D development compared to where it was over the course of 2023. The question being is, can this translate to much larger revenues in the future? The increase in the sales side tends to believe so. So despite the fact that the company overall is kind of in that maintenance mode from an overall revenue perspective, the question is, why are we showcasing such large increases in those operating expenses without seeing that come over to the revenue side? As such, I do have major concerns over the costs that they are incurring and the lack of revenue growth we're seeing to be matched to that. So last but not least, as we dive into the cash flow statement, one of the things that I will be heavily focused on is, are the cash positions going to continue to increase? And are we going to see the accounts receivable continue to go back into what we saw in the latter year or in the past year? All in all, once again, the company is performing well from an operational perspective, but I don't foresee their current valuation being justified when they have 4 straight quarters of losses, and the stock has been going up over that same time period, up nearly 71%. As such, I think that this is going to be an interesting opportunity to play closer to the short side by buying puts, and that's what I'm going to be looking at. This is by no means a recommendation, and I would heavily recommend you do your own analysis. I just believe that there is the opportunity to make a play against this, and I see that this is probably one of those items where a rising tide lifts all ships, and NVIDIA has continued to be part of that rising tide. I think Micron has been benefiting from a lot of the companies in this space showing incredible growth. As such, I think that there is an opportunity to potentially view this on the put side, especially because the overall short analysis down below, you can see, is not in a material fashion, with less than 2% of the company being sold short. So this is one to watch. I found it super interesting, and I think there is opportunity here. As such, I'm going to be watching their earnings that are going to be coming out later this week. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts, questions, or feedback. Talk to you soon.